The Sacramento Kings dropped their 10th straight game tonight at Golden One Center, but with the trade deadline looming, final score took a back seat.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I am James Hammy, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. I'm also the new host of Locked On Kings. Welcome in. We've got all kinds of things to talk about tonight. I, of course, have covered the Sacramento Kings team for the last 16 years as a credentialed media member. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Locked On Kings is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. All right, let's dive right into this tonight. We're going to finish up with 6 quick thoughts like we have the last couple of game days. We're also going to talk about DeAndre Hunter making his Sacramento Kings debut tonight. Before we get to any of that, let's get to the latest on the NBA trade deadline and where the Sacramento Kings are going into the final hours before tomorrow, Thursday's 12 p.m. Pacific time NBA trade deadline. This is what we've got. I think this has been a rough day for Sacramento Kings fans because it does appear that the Domantas Sabonis situation with the Toronto Raptors has come to an end. Now, look, there is still time for these two to get together and figure out some way forward, but the Raptors kind of signaled that they're going a different direction this afternoon. They made a couple of trades. They're very small trades, but those very small trades could impact their bottom line greatly. They traded Abaji and his $6 million expiring contract to the Brooklyn Nets with the second-round pick. They picked up Trace Jackson Davis from the Golden State Warriors, who, of course, plays the center position. In no way, shape, or form is Trace Jackson Davis a substitute for Domantas Sabonis, but that team just has a lack of depth at the center position, and it's crazy. Again, I think there is a possibility that these two teams will talk again before it's all said and done, before the final whistle blows on the NBA trade deadline. But for right now, it's gotten quiet, and there's a very good chance that everyone is moving forward and moving in a different direction. What does that mean for the Kings? Well, it means that Domantas Sabonis is likely going to continue out this season with the team. There are other teams that are intrigued by Domas, but whether or not they can swing a deal here at the last second, it's going to be extremely complicated because Domas makes $42 million, and that's a lot of moving pieces. Sabonis was good in tonight's game. He had 24 points. He had 15 rebounds. 7 of his rebounds were on the offensive end. I think 4 of them came on one play where he just kept missing at the rim and kept grabbing rebounds. But he also added 3 assists. He only played 24 minutes. And that's going to be a theme moving forward. It seems like the Sacramento Kings are going to play their young players. That's how they finish this game. But we'll get into that in 6 quick thoughts. In addition to the situation happening with Sabonis to the Raptors kind of collapsing, we have this other storyline that maybe may have come to an end. I'm not sure, though. There was a late night trade here. Jonathan Kuminga from Kuminga Watch fame and Buddy Hield, a former Sacramento Kings shooting guard, were traded to the Atlanta Hawks for Kristaps Porzingis. Now, Porzingis is going to move right into the starting lineup with the Golden State Warriors. They are signaling to everybody in the league that they are probably out of the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes, which is a pretty big blow to Warriors fans. But they did land Porzingis, unless they want to reroute Porzingis between now and the deadline tomorrow. It's pretty complicated to trade a player a second time unless the trade hasn't been called into the league. Then you can kind of expand it, move players in different directions. If not, a player like Porzingis could only be traded. He couldn't be aggregated. You couldn't add a salary to him to move him to another location. So again, it becomes a little complicated. Now, we did see a tweet. I saw a tweet this evening, and this is getting in the weeds a little bit, but Grant Liffman from NBC Sports he made a tweet earlier that says it's not a foregone conclusion that Jonathan Kuminga will stay with the Hawks. They could move him before the deadline. Now, this could just be speculation on Grant Liftman's part, but I will tell you that Grant Liftman spent the last few years in the Atlanta Hawks front office. So, is it possible that Atlanta picked up Kuminga at the last second here, and then they'll call the Sacramento Kings and say, okay, like, look, we're not allergic to some of the trade offers that you had on the table. Maybe we'll step in and move Kuminga to the Sacramento Kings. Now, what that would look like, I have no idea. It would really depend on what Atlanta's looking for. But is there a possible Malik Monk, Devin Carter trade? Is there a possibility of a DeMar DeRozan move where DeRozan would go to Atlanta and, of course, Kuminga would come to Sacramento? That's possible. It's also possible that they look at him and say, hey, we kind of feel like he could take a bigger role with the Hawks, playing alongside Jalen Johnson. But that also could have a negative impact on a guy like Zachary Sachet, who, they took with the number one overall pick last year. Again, so many moving pieces, but that's what the NBA trade deadline is about. Outside of that, I got to be honest, it has gone really, really quiet here in Sacramento. There's been tons of, movement over the last 2 weeks. We did see the trade over the weekend that sent Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, Dario Saric out and brought in DeAndre Hunter, which we'll get to in the next block. But there isn't a buzz. There isn't a palpable buzz here in the arena, even with a game here tonight. Scott Perry was not super visible this evening. The Sacramento Kings general manager. I have not been able to corner him and speak to him and get more, if any, information from him on where they're at. But I think the other thing that is kind of an interesting subplot to tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies is that Ja Morant was here. Ja Morant, of course, it looks like the Grizzlies are ready to move on from Ja. The Sacramento Kings may or may not be involved in that. But certainly, there's been enough smoke over the last week, even dating back to last summer, where the Kings could actually get involved in the Ja Morant sweepstakes. The price keeps coming down for Ja, it sounds like. Memphis has already been able to accumulate something like 13 first-round picks over the next 7 years. So they have put themselves in a position for a complete rebuild. It does appear that they want to move on without Morant. He did not play in the game tonight here in Sacramento, which, again, would have given them an interesting, I don't know, if you want to throw him out there and give the fans something to look at, that would have been at least intriguing. But as far as I've heard, again, the Kings do not have an offer out on Ja Morant as of yesterday. They also had not spoken to the Grizzlies in 2 or 3 days, and they have never actually put an official offer on the table. Again, that was as of yesterday. These things happen quickly. I was told by a very high-ranking league source that the Kings were not pursuing Ja Morant. But again, these are word plays. We don't know if a team like the Grizzlies were pursuing the Kings and a possible deal. I don't know what it would even look like, but to be honest with you, there are a lot of murmurs around that the Kings might have one of the better packages to put forward for Ja Morant, and it will come down to whether or not, again, they move on from the multi-time All-Star and whether the Kings want to chase a player who is extremely talented but also has a ton of baggage, both on the court as far as injuries and off the court as far as weird behavioral issues, gun situations, and different things like that. Is he worth gambling on? It's possible. He's 26 years old. He's under contract for another 2 years after this year. But I also think that his camp is signaling that he would not prefer to come to Sacramento. He would prefer to go to a place like the Miami Heat. Whether the Heat are interested is a whole nother story, especially with the Giannis Antetokounmpo stuff heating up. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we had a DeAndre Hunter start tonight. He made his Kings debut, And we're going to dive into that and plenty more here on Locked On Kings. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take a job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want to hire someone who can help. I'd want to hire someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves. And Indeed.com slash podcasts. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Also, tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off, and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax experts in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every single deduction. It's a huge time saver and gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, the NBA trade deadline is just hours away. It's basically here, and we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with all the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to group chats on Discord for just Kings fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You also get ad-free versions of this show. And if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use the code DEADLINE to get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, let's dive into this DeAndre Hunter situation. Hunter, of course, joined the Sacramento Kings on Saturday in a trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It sent Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis to Cleveland, Dario Saric, and a very protected second-round pick to the Chicago Bulls. Now, Hunter made his debut. I thought, watching from my seat here at Golden One Center, he's long, he's athletic, he moves really, really well. He wasn't exactly efficient tonight. He struggled a little bit trying to find his place with a new team, which is to be expected. On the night, he had 9 points. He had 5 personal fouls, which I thought was a little egregious. He shot just 3 of 11 from the field, but he did make 2 of 4 from the corner 3. So, this is a player that the Kings have been looking for sure. He had a solid defensive effort, but I also think that when you're watching the Sacramento Kings, you understand very quickly that one player is not going to fix this roster. And it doesn't matter, how good DeAndre Hunter was. He was in a starting lineup with Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan. not one of those guys are known for their defense. And in fact, all of them are known as not very good defensive players. So when he's in that lineup, it's difficult. I thought Doug Christie did a very good job of mixing and matching Hunter with a ton of different lineups. Neat Clifford, Dylan Cardwell, Malik Monk, Max Reynaud, and Devin Carter all played substantial minutes tonight as the Kings are transitioning to a much younger group. That means that 10 players played, and that means also that DeAndre Hunter got to play with just about everyone the Kings have to offer. I would point out Precious Chua did not play tonight. He was a DNP CD coach's decision. That's going to be something that the Kings are dealing with now that they have more forward and center depth with Domantas Sabonis back in the fold. That means that Dylan Cardwell and Max Reynaud are going to play major minutes. Again, we'll get into this a little bit in 6 quick thoughts, but I thought the group of 3s and 4s and 5s, they played okay together, but there are major defensive deficiencies. So the one thing I would point out is that watching him, like, he's going to take a little bit to carve out a niche in this offense. This offense is not good at all. I think they're ranked 29th in the league. They've really struggled this season. Again, tonight, 125 points on the night. It's the defensive end, too, where they're really, really struggling. They gave up 129 to a Memphis Grizzlies team that not only traded Jaren Jackson Jr. this week, but also John Morant doesn't play. Desmond Bane was traded during the offseason. This team is a shell of itself and still found a way to beat the Kings with a makeshift lineup. And again, 9 players who were not in uniform tonight. So where I think Hunter will really, really help the Kings is when Keegan Murray gets back. I can definitely see a lineup with Neat Clifford playing in the backcourt, and Hunter and Keegan Murray and Dylan Cardwell out on the floor together. That 4-man lineup with whoever else they want to put out there is going to be the Kings' best defensive lineup. Again, if somehow Devin Carter works his way into the rotation here at the end of the season and can be one of those guys as well. He's actually a plus defender, super long wingspan, despite the fact that he's 6'2", big leaping ability. And so again, you can see a world in which this would be a very switchable lineup, which is not something that I think we're seeing from this group right now, which is part of the reason why they're so bad defensively. I think he can help them. Now, how much he can help them, I'm not sure, but the first signs, some struggles here and there. I also think that he was kind of put in a box in Cleveland and told, hey, you're only going to do this, this, and this, and that's it. And so I do think that there's a way for him to expand his role, but you have a lot of offensive players here in Sacramento who think that they can expand their role as well. And I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know what they're going to do after the trade deadline. I don't know if you're going to see, Russell Westbrook or Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan get traded between now and 12 o'clock tomorrow. But there is still potential here for this thing to open up a little bit and for things to change. The one thing I do know is the Kings got more length, more athleticism, more defensive acumen, even if I don't think DeAndre Hunter is a lockdown defender. Still 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. The Kings don't have anyone else like him outside of Keegan Murray, and he could actually help this team sort of grow and become better on that end of the court. All right. When we come back, we're going to dive into 6 quick thoughts so we can do a little bit of game coverage. Again, I'm here live at Golden One Center following the Kings 129-125 loss to the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, we're going to take a second here, and we'll be right back. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get 200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit fanduel.com to get started. All right, let's dive into 6 quick thoughts. This is something that I do after every single Sacramento Kings game, whether it's at home or on the road. I post them on social media. You can follow me at James_Ham NBA on Twitter. You can also find me on Blue Sky, where I post these as well. The Sacramento Kings, of course, lost 129 to 125 to the Memphis Grizzlies. Not a good game for the Sacramento Kings, but I got to be honest. This is kind of what they wanted. They want to compete. They want to make a good show for the fans. But at the end of the day, losses mean more to the Kings at this point than wins. They have lost 10 consecutive games. They're now 12-40 on the season. They're the worst team in basketball. They have the worst record in the NBA, and it's not even close. I asked Doug Christie following the game if the decision to play 10 players and to finish games with guys like Dylan Cardwell over a guy like Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis has 24 points, 15 rebounds. Dylan Cardwell, again, he has 5 points, 11 rebounds. Really nice job on the glass. He had a block. But also, a guy like Max Reynaud playing minutes in crunch time on some of these games, finishes with 6 points and 5 rebounds. They just aren't Domantas Sabonis. And that's okay. Down the road, maybe they will be. I think Dylan Cardwell had a great line tonight. He said, I'm not trying to be Domas. I'm trying to be Dylan Cardwell. And that's because he knows his role with this team. But that doesn't change the fact that the Kings are making an organizational decision. Doug Christie said everyone is on the same page. This is an organizational decision to play 10 players, to play, again, Sabonis 24 minutes, Hunter 26 minutes, DeRozan 27 minutes, Levine 22, Westbrook 26, but also Nick Clifford, rookie, 26 minutes, Dylan Cardwell 26 minutes, Max Reynaud 21 minutes, Devin Carter 24 minutes, and Malik Monk 18 minutes. So we're seeing a shift, a seismic shift in what the Sacramento Kings are trying to do down the stretch here. And again, it's to compete, but really not play for wins. They're playing to develop talent instead. So let's get to point number 1. Welcome, Sacramento. DeAndre Hunter actually drilled a 3 to open the game. It was first points of the game. But after that, he had a pretty quiet night. He finished the night with 9 points on 3 of 11 shooting. Again, you can see his defensive acumen. You can see the length, the athleticism that he has. But you can also see that one player isn't going to fix this roster. It doesn't matter how good that player is, unless somehow the Sacramento Kings do something crazy, which they're not going to, and trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. One player is not going to fix everything here, and that's just something that I think we all understand. But you could watch it playing out on the court. Nice impact, solid player, good role player at the NBA level. Had a really good run at the end of his career in Atlanta, and he was really solid last year with Cleveland. He's trying to get back on track this year. He's had a down shooting year in Cleveland, and I think the Kings, especially this gym, seems to be the best shooting gym in the NBA. I think he'll find his shooting stroke here as he gets acclimated to the roster. Let's get to number 2. Was this one more dance, or is Domantas Sabonis here to stay? Again, we're on the eve of the NBA trade deadline. He's been in rumors all week. And I thought if this was the last game Domantas Sabonis played in the Sacramento Kings jersey, he did a really nice job. We're talking about 24 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. He had a steal. He only turned the ball over one time. Shot 10 of 18 from the field. But again, I think there was one play where his stats didn't look like this at all. He had 24 points and 11 rebounds. And he was like 10 of 14 from the field. And then he missed 4 consecutive shots at the rim. In a crowd. It wasn't like he just bricked layups, but in a crowd, he missed 4 consecutive shots, kept getting his own rebound, and his numbers bolstered up. So 24 minutes to score 24 points, pretty impressive. 15 rebounds again. The best rebounder in the NBA, pound for pound. He's led the league 3 straight years in rebounding, and you expect him to be a good rebounder. Let's get to number 3. Doug Christie played 2 bigs, a huge portion of this game. And the 2 bigs, sometimes it was Sabonis and Cardwell. Sometimes it was Sabonis and Reynaud. Sometimes it was Reynaud and Cardwell. And very specifically, this Memphis Grizzlies team, again, they just traded Jaren Jackson. They also, Zach Edey's on, he's been hurt for a good portion of the year. And so they're running Sandy Aldama out there as a center. And that's part of the reason why Sabonis had a big game. But also, I think it's good for the young guys to play with Domas. Domas is a great passer. Again, he teaches them how to rebound. He's good typically around the rim. Again, 10 of 18 shooting. Neither Reynaud or Cardwell are even remotely close to the skill level and talent level today of a Domantas Sabonis. But can they get to a point where they're actually serviceable? Can they get to a point where they're actually a big part of what you're building? Yes, they can. Especially Cardwell's just an absolute spectacular defensive player. And you can see he's an outlier on any of the NBA stats for a guy that, especially is coming into the league. The other thing is 11 rebounds tonight, 4 offensive, 7 defensive rebounds. This is a guy who averaged 5 rebounds a game in college. And by the end of the season, he's probably going to be around 7 or 8 rebounds per game, as opposed to the 5 he averaged as a 5th-year senior at Alabama. So really impressive what he's doing. Again, I noted earlier, but Precious Achiuwa did not see the court tonight. Rode the pine, got a DNP CD, unfortunately, for Precious, and he's just kind of stuck in a roster crunch. Whether that gets cleared up tomorrow or not at the deadline, I don't know. Let's go to number 4, back to the bench. After starting for the last 5 games, rookie Nick Clifford played with the second team. He looked solid. He actually had a really nice offensive night. He finished the game with 14 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. He also made 2 crucial turnovers, which he owned after the game. He talked about it in the post-game media session. He really felt like he let his team down and made some mistakes that he's going to get better at. He's also learning the point guard position and all the responsibilities that come with that. And, talking to Malik Monk about how the transition from being a shooting guard or just a combo guard to being a true point guard at the NBA level is crazy difficult. You've got to watch the shot clock. You've got to know where everybody's at on the floor, initiate the offense. You got to make sure that you're spreading the ball around so it's just not 1 or 2 guys getting the ball. And Nick Clifford is trying to process all of that. He made a couple of errors down the stretch. He tried to hit Dylan Cardwell for what would have probably been a wide open dunk. But again, that might not be a great idea because Cardwell's a 45% free throw shooter, 50% free throw shooter. And there's a good chance Memphis would have just fouled him. Either way, it didn't matter. He didn't catch the ball, and it came in a little hot. He's learning. I like the process, though. Smart kid. Again, 14 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds on the night. Let's get to number 5. He showed something. Former lottery pick Devin Carter got some burn, and I thought he made a really nice impact on the game. Devin Carter is, again, I think 13th pick in last year's draft. He missed the first half of his rookie season with a shoulder issue. Never been able to get off the pine here in Sacramento. The Kings shopped him multiple times between the time they drafted him and today. And he's still here. It's a surprise to see him all of a sudden back in the rotation a little bit. It's been the last 2 or 3 games where he's got some burn. Tonight, he had 10 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had 4 personal fouls, but he also had a steal and a block, only 1 turnover. I really like the speed that Devin Carter plays with. Very, very fast up and down the court, long, athletic. I don't know if he's going to find his way back into the rotation full time. The 0 of 6 from 3 it stands out. But again, the Kings were hoisting some shots late in the game and just didn't work out. Let's get to number 6. Happy birthday. Malik Monk turned 28 on Wednesday. He shows no signs of slowing down. He had 13 points, dished out 4 assists in 18 minutes. I think after a season of him being involved in trade rumors, whole summer and the whole first half of this season, it does sound like Malik Monk will stick around Sacramento. I'm not positive, but there's actually a pretty good vibe going with him again. But we'll have to see how it all works out. Again, the Kings are going to go young here in the second half of the season, and that might mean less minutes for a player like Malik. All right. Thanks for tuning in tonight. This is the first time I've done a show from the arena. It's a little different, a little nerve-wracking, watching people clean up the arena as I'm sitting here talking, people around me while I'm talking, but we'll get used to it. Thanks for tuning into Locked On Kings. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, rating a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and hold on to your hats. We got just a few hours left before the NBA trade deadline. Yeah, and if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built in for our most loyal fans. Go to the description down below, click on to learn more, and hopefully you'll join our Everydayer Club.